right. Well, hello there, everyone. It is Monday, February the 14th, year 2022. And I once again have a very special guest with me. I got Millennial Mike sitting right here. So, Mike, go ahead and say hi to everyone.
How's it going, guys? Mark, as always, thank you for having me on your channel.
All right, sure. All right, Mike. Well, hopefully you're doing well. And you and I just were having a discussion about something that you and I both like. So, kick us off just a little bit, maybe give a brief overview of it, and then I'll kind of go back and tell everyone what I was just talking to you about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so Mark and I had the idea of getting together, trying to bring positive news for the city of Gary on a weekly basis, maybe more regularly than that, but just talking about positive job news, economic news, or other type of news for the city of Gary. And so while Mark was looking up different things going on in Gary and making some phone calls, he found a good story about a trucking distribution center possibly coming to Gary. So Mark, I'll let you go ahead and explain the details of that.
All right, sure. All right, well, thank you, Mike. What I found, I was just Googling Gary, looking for some local news, and it's the website's nwi.com. It's like northwestindiana.com. And this article is from February the 5th. And what the article is called, in case anyone wants to look it up, is Hammond Trucking Company must rezone abandoned Gary schools before relocating. Okay. And what the gist of the article is, and I may get something not quite 100% correct because I'm going by memory kind of, but what the gist of the article is the trucking company is located in Hammond, Indiana, which is right next door to Gary. And they're looking to move into Gary, and they bought, or they're in the process of buying some abandoned schools. The city of Gary has numerous abandoned schools, and they sold several of these. They are selling several of these schools to this trucking company. I think it's 2 schools, elementary schools, for $1 million. And what the trucking company says is that they will come in. My understanding of it, and I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is they will demolish the schools, clean that area up, build a nice office building with the place for the trucks to go. It'll be aesthetically pleasing. They have parking lots around it with cars and whatnot. And I think I'll hold up my tablet and show a picture of what their picture is. So we'll see. Like, Mike, are you able to?
Oh yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Okay. All right. So it's a good looking building. They got some big trees planted there. And what they would do if they move into Gary, I'm sure, from my perspective, it brings jobs into Gary.
Right.
And that's a good thing to me. All right. And I have more I can say on this, but go ahead, Mike, give me your thoughts on this.
Well, yeah. So when we were talking about the article before you chatted with me, you said that in the article they interviewed a Gary resident who had some concerns about a trucking company coming in, and I think they talked about pollution and things like that. Ultimately, when you read a newspaper article, you got to keep in mind that they're always going to do their best to find devil's advocate to get both sides of the story. That does not necessarily mean that both views are represented equally in the minds of the population. So 95% of people could be for the company and 5% are against it, but they're going to try to present both views so you can kind of get a skewed belief yourself when you read something like that. Ultimately, I would think that the residents of Gary, at the very least, the city council of Gary, would absolutely love to bring in any company that they can. Manufacturing jobs are the lifeblood of any economy. And I don't know if trucking counts as manufacturing because they're not actually creating something, but they're a distribution center. You cannot move products that have been manufactured unless you transport them on a truck. As much as I love trains, trains can't get to every little tiny city and every nook and corner down an alley to each business. You have to, at some point, put it on a truck and move it from the main distribution plant somewhere else, which means those trucks are going to have to be driven by people, and which means jobs. And Gary is in desperate need of manufacturing jobs. When the U.S. Steel Corporation shuttered its doors, moved out of Gary, fired everybody but just a couple hundred people, that took the heart and soul of Gary's economy with it. And it's just been struggling and on life support ever since. So if you can bring in even 100, but 200 or 300 jobs, trucking jobs, that does nothing but help the economy. And then other service sector jobs show up around that, because now you've got these truckers that have to be taken care of. They got to get their hair cut. They got to shop at a grocery store. They got to take their kids to daycare. So 100%, I would love to see this happen in Gary.
Right. I agree 100% as well, Mike. And just thinking on it, you and I both have had truck drivers in our families. I think we both expressed the possibility when I was younger, I considered becoming a truck driver. I think you might have a similar idea if you got out of law enforcement, perhaps. But I mean, you hit on the key there. Newspaper articles, they got to find both sides to any issue, and they'll try to find someone who's vocal on both sides. It's kind of what they'll do. So what I will say is that I understand a resident being concerned, but I'm gonna flip back to the community I retired out of. When I got hired at this police department in 1998, by 1999, I was driving around working night shift, thinking to myself, I have made a mistake. This town is dying. They had a DuPont factory there that had shut down. They had other factories that shut down, and nothing was there. No retail, nothing was there. Within a few years, Walmart said they wanted to come to town. The community in strong numbers protested Walmart coming. And I was like, what is wrong with these people? They don't want, yes, Walmart can shut down mom and pop businesses, but there are no mom and pop businesses in this city. But when it got approved, because the city has some foresight there, and when they allowed Walmart to come, within months, maybe even weeks, Applebee's restaurant decided to come. Lowe's decided to come. Home Depot decided to come. Target decided to come. Store after store after store decided to come. And now it's a thriving retail community with the mountains there. There's a river there, and they're starting to capitalize on the natural beauty of it. So in that community, it's in the Shenandoah Valley. That worked out. And in Gary, the same thing can happen. This could be one company alone. They can't change the city all by themselves. Alone, Mazske Finance, Millennial Mike, we can't change the city by ourselves. But the more investors we get there that will help not just buy properties to make a quick buck, but buy properties to invest in the community and to make that house better. The more companies that come in, the truck drivers that come in, the Hard Rock Casino that comes in, it can all turn out to be a good thing.
Right.
So.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I think truckers sometimes get a bad reputation. Is somehow a lesser job, like most blue collar workers, even the police, like you and I. We just get a different reputation. I love truckers. As you said, someone in your family, my stepdad was a trucker. I've always said if I get zipped up at work and can't be a police officer anymore because I get injured for whatever reason, the very first thing I would do would go get my CDL and start driving a truck. My sister-in-law drives a truck. She makes like 80 grand a year doing it, get to see the country. And my favorite thing, as I was telling you, when I'm stuck on the freeway in Seattle trying to close down 2 or 3 different lanes because we got a major crash, and I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get hit running outside of my car here because nobody cares they're there. I got my lights on, sure, but people are going around past me. It's so nice when that big, the double tractor trailer sees me over all the cars, pulls in and blocks 2 or 3 lanes for me so I can get the crash cleared, and then they take off out of there. I mean, it's one of my favorite things. So 100%, I think that this would be fantastic for the local economy. It would do nothing but help the city collect some taxes, I'm sure, from the business. And then you've got people that got to move in and live in the area, and there's more property taxes being paid. This is how you rebuild the city, one business at a time, like we're trying to do it with one investment property at a time to just make it look better. So I would love to see this happen. Hopefully it does. And then we'll be able to talk more about it then.
Yep, very true, Mike, very true. Well, we don't want to make this video too long, so we're going to wrap it up here. But what I will do, I'll put a link in the description to the article that I was reading. And there is a meeting later this week where they're going to discuss the rezoning. So maybe next time we talk, we can talk about what the outcome of that rezoning meeting was, and we'll see what happens. All right. So any final things you want to say, Mike, before we sign out here?
No, but as always, thanks for having me on the channel, Mark. I really appreciate it. If you're not following Mark's YouTube channel, you should. He does a fantastic job of providing good daily content for you and giving good advice on how to invest in real estate. So please follow my mentor, Mark.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. So for Millennial Mike, this is Mazske Finance, and we will be signing out, and we will talk again soon. Stay safe, everyone.